Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Adobe Live. My name is Sin Lagos, and today I will be your host. With us today is also Anna. Hi, Anna. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. Can you let us know where you're joining us from?
Yes. So right now I am in New Jersey, but last night I got back from an epic vacation in Bora Bora. And that's what we're going to be working on today. So hi, everyone. Nice to see you all in the chat. I'm super excited to be a guest today.
Yeah, we already have a few folks in the chat. We have Annika. We have Umacorn. That's a cool name. Marsha, definitely let us know where you guys are joining us from. We definitely like to know. I am joining you from Austin, Texas. And also a quick reminder, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our brand new Adobe Live, where you can keep up with our streams and also participate in all the Adobe Live community has to offer. Anna, can you let us know a little bit more about yourself, your amazing trip, and also the project we'll be working on today?
Yeah, of course. So I am a photographer and digital artist. I've been creating art now for most of my life, honestly. Ever since I was a little kid, I was creating some sort of art, whether it be illustration, painting, finger painting, playing with all sorts of things. I got interested in photography and design in high school. And then about 10 years ago, started my full-on Photoshop fantasy creative journey that I am in right now, where most of you may know kind of the fantasy surreal work that I make, a lot with glowing, colorful elements. And today we are going to be doing a over under water shot. And I'm really excited to show you all these pictures. As you can see, it looks like they are up on the screen right now. We just did 12 days in French Polynesia and spent 10 days on a catamaran sailing around, taking stunning epic photos. I'm super pumped on these, and it's nice because it's been a while since I've been really stoked about some photos. So we were with 10 other people on a boat and got to know them really well. And a few of the photos that we're going to be working on today are from a couple that were on the trip, named Jeff and Maddie Wilson, and you can find them on Instagram under Wandering Wilsons. And they are also from Austin, Texas. So maybe,
nice.
Sin, you guys can meet up.
Yeah, for sure. We have also a few folks here saying, oh my God, we have Rob saying, oh my gosh, Bora Bora is a bucket list.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
It hasn't been my bucket list, but I'm thinking I should include it in there.
I think you might have to. Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. We have some folks from Netherlands, from New Zealand, and Canada. That's super cool.
Yeah, from all over the world. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. So it was just like a dream trip. Had been on my bucket list for a while, and I'm just kind of scrolling through some of the stuff here quickly, but then we'll get into it. Honestly, if it's not on your bucket list, add it. If it is, go there immediately. It was much easier to get there than I thought because it was a lot of travel, but the flights were pretty simple. And everyone there is so lovely, so friendly, so welcoming. The food is great. It's an expensive place, but just magical, dreamy, magical, incredible. Like, look at that.
Yeah. I can already tell the color palettes on these images are really nice and they're not edited yet.
Yeah, like all of this is unedited. The water there is just unbelievable. So blue. Let me just go back up real quick to let's see. Like, this is an unedited drone shot, and I love the green, the lushness of the mountains, and then you have the blue shades in the water. So it was photography paradise. And let me show you all. So today my plan is to do a little over under shot. As I said, we're going to do some stuff with this water line here. And this is one of Jeff and Maddie's photos. We could put this in as well. I wasn't going to play with the whales today, but they're, oh, my mom's on here. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. We just said hello in the chat.
That's awesome.
And so what I want to do is take this photo from one night on the catamaran. You can see the beautiful sunset here. And then we're going to combine it with some of these epic shots that Maddie and Jeff took of underwater. So here's Maddie diving and some of the coral and the fish. And I thought this would be really cool to combine these multiple shots. So
yeah, those underwater shots are beautiful. They're always very stunning, right?
Yeah.
If you get, it's such a mystery what's below the water. So it's always amazing when it's revealed through the lens.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so cool. And Jeff Wilson, he is just such a great underwater photographer. He has his big housing unit for the camera and just took some really cool photos of his wife, Maddie. And it was really fun getting to know them. And so I'm excited to be able to do this kind of as a collaboration with them, because I think I just love this line too in the water. I think it's a really beautiful way to wrap up this trip and bring everything together with having never met these people before. And now they feel like best friends that I've known my whole life. And so I thought for today's stream, it's kind of a cool way to bring it all together.
Yeah, definitely. And you get to be in Bora Bora a little bit longer through the images, I think. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I'm not ready to leave this place. So I get to live here a little bit longer. These are some of the eagle rays that we saw. And that was really cool because they all flap at the same time. So it looked like just a huge flock of birds underwater.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Yeah.
We also have Nancy saying, just got on. Can't wait to see what you do with these amazing photos.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my mom. Let's see. So let's just start editing these. Let's jump into it. I'm like, so just having a good time looking at all of them. But, and then these are kind of fun too. Like this is kind of what we'll be doing today, but more dreamy and surreal, but this kind of over under type shot.
Okay. And so when you're sorting through your images in general, do you, for something like this, are you looking for something exactly like maybe more blank space or something in particular?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I started actually with this shot, and in my head, I imagined a bit of what I wanted to do with it. And a lot of times these ideas will just come to me purely because I've been doing this for so long, where I automatically will kind of see it all start to build out in my head. But I knew I wanted to take this and then put like a magical underwater scene underneath. And so that was when I asked Jeff if I could use some of his photos, because we had our GoPro, but they didn't have the same quality that we were getting on his camera. And so when he showed me like these photos, that was when I knew I wanted to combine the boat and underwater here. And then in choosing them last night, I just went through and picked out a few of my favorites. And then I think what I want to do today, I have an idea of which ones I want to use, but if anyone in the chat sees something here that you think would be fun, or at the end, if we want to add in some other elements, like I have extra fish here. I have, some shark. So we could add those in, and then some extra boats. So we can kind of just build this fully out once we get to the part where I'm kind of headed towards a finishing point, and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah. So let us know in the chat if you guys want a shark, a boat. We have plenty to choose from here. And I think Anna's really good at making magic, so we're going to challenge her.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I usually start everything in Lightroom just to kind of give it a once over edit. Sometimes I will bring it directly into Photoshop and do my camera roll in there. But for now, I'm just going to click on develop here. And I just want to start by brightening this up. And we're going to give it a bit of exposure so that we can really see what we're working with. I don't really usually have a plan when I do this as far as just editing until I really like what I see. I know that I like bluer tones and pinker tones, so I end up going that way. But if you like a warmer tone image, then you can definitely do that as well. Little texture here. And just gonna kind of, ooh, that's fun. We can play with this a lot. This is really my favorite section in the color slider here because you can change how the image looks overall in the color tones. And I think that's the most powerful editing tool that there is, whether it's for a composite like this, or if you're just editing photography, inside Lightroom for travel or portraits or whatever, this is always going to be a very powerful tool.
Yeah, you can completely change the mood altogether.
Yeah.
Depending on what you have to begin with, but it's very powerful. I think I always encourage folks to kind of push those levers all the way through and watch something really stunning happen and then kind of find the area that they're most happiest with.
Yep, exactly. That's always what I do too, where I'll push it kind of to the extreme because sometimes you find these really incredible things that you might not have done before. And it just really helps amplify the photo. Like even if we just do little before and after. No, not reference. There we go. Like, look at that already. I just did a few little sliders here and it automatically makes this look so much more dreamy.
Yeah, I think having those little bits of pink tones always gives it that sort of like sweet romantic look about it. Have you ever noticed that? Yeah.
100%.
I add it to my shadows quite often too.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So just straightening that out a little bit. And then sometimes I like to go down to the very bottom and play with the camera calibration because that can really change the look of your image too and just kind of gives that extra boost. It really depends on the photo though for me and how much I want to edit it. And I don't go for a full stylized look just yet. If I know I'm going to be bringing this into Photoshop, this is just kind of getting that baseline look because I don't want to overdo it where then everything else doesn't match up as well. Because when you're compositing, you really want these things to the most important thing is to have your angles and your lighting match initially off the bat. But if they don't, it's to get it close enough where as you start bringing all the colors together, everything's going to look very seamless.
Okay. Sean says, using the backlash will toggle before and after.
Oh, yeah.
Slash.
Oh, yeah. There we go. I was like, I was hitting next to it and I'm not used to this keyboard. So thanks for the reminder, Sean.
Yeah. The chat's always great at coming in through with the shortcuts.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, so I spend so much time in Lightroom and Photoshop in general. And for pretty much the whole summer, I haven't really been in either one because I've just been out enjoying the world and nature. And so it's funny getting back in here and being like, oh yeah, those little shortcuts that you quickly forget.
And then sometimes you forget them mentally, but you know where they are in the keyboard, just your muscle memory.
Exactly.
Goes right to them.
Okay, so then we're going to use this one. Let me open that up. This is Maddie looking like a mermaid in the water. And I'm just going to do a very light edit on this to kind of bring out some of those colors.
Oh, that's curious. Oliver says, I always forget that one and end up just clicking on the history instead. That's cool. That's a good another way to
Oh
look at
yeah.
what you did. I think on Lightroom mobile, you also have versions for you to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Editing
Is that your
underwater.
friend?
Yeah, this is my friend
Okay.
Maddie. And yeah, so her husband Jeff shot this and
It's
she looks
beautiful.
so cool. I just love this picture. So editing underwater photography is really hard. It's honestly such a challenge because you have to really change the tones of everything. And to be honest, I am not an expert with it by any means, but we're just going to make this kind of look cool. And for anyone interested in underwater photography, if you have a camera with a housing unit, that's really smart. And also just for GoPro, we used red filters, and that helps so much to make everything look more natural and not that blown out blue color that you sometimes get.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with that look. It's so funny. Everyone gets it, and then you have to do a lot of post editing. But that's good to
Yeah.
know. The
Yeah.
filters.
I know. I didn't know about that and then learned about that on this trip. So all right. So that's good enough on that one. We didn't do a whole lot, just a little brightening. Might actually bring those blacks in a tiny bit more. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good.
Are you hoping to edit it to match the previous one?
Not
Or is it
really.
okay to
Yeah.
independently edit?
Yeah, it's totally okay. And normally I would not I wouldn't edit all the different pieces in Lightroom. I would just edit the main image like we did here. But because I know I'm going to be using this one a lot too of Maddie, I wanted to just kind of touch on it a little bit. But let's go ahead and open this in Photoshop. So we're going to go edit in Photoshop. And
I love that option
opens.
to edit in Photoshop. It usually
Where is it?
opens a TIFF file. Let's see, it might take a little bit. Edit in Photoshop.
Oh, is it because, it's trying to open the beta version. I don't know why. Or is that?
I wonder if you open it from the develop module, it might have a better chance than from the import.
Can I?
Marsha says, love parrotfish.
Yeah, they're so cool.
They're really cool. I saw a parrotfish by chance. And my wife and her entire family loves fishing. So she was able to tell me it was a parrotfish, but I didn't know. This entire time I had seen this beautiful fish, and it has a really quintessential name.
Yeah, I know. They're so, so gorgeous. Okay. I don't know why this isn't working. So
okay.
I don't want to re-edit it. Let me just see.
Or maybe we can close Photoshop and let it have another chance at reopening.
Yeah. I'll just do it like this. So maybe if anybody wants to work this way, this is another good way to work. You can just save your file as a TIFF or JPEG, whatever your preference is. And then we should be able to now open it in Photoshop. The only unfortunate thing about that is then if you do edit in if you're in Lightroom and you go edit in Photoshop, then you can keep editing it and it becomes non-destructive this way. Then this is the edit that we're stuck with. But
yeah, but it's a workaround.
Yeah.
Usually anything you do on Photoshop will save automatically, will save into your Lightroom edits, and you continue to edit through there. But this is definitely, I feel like before that existed, this is the previous way of doing it, and we did it just fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let me just show you all quickly what I'm aiming towards here. And this, I just did this really fast. And it was just kind of like a rough sketch to get the idea out. And you can see like even here, I hadn't edited the colors yet. So I think automatically this is going to look so much cooler. But then adding in this water line here, adding in Maddie with another big bed of coral and the fish. And so it should be pretty cool. But I'll walk you through the whole process.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I love it. I can already sort of guess what your steps are, but I'm really curious to see your work.
Yeah. I am excited to do this and to take my time with it. Because this one I literally did in maybe 3 minutes and I just roughed it out as quick as I could. And even that looked cool. So
yeah, that's practice makes I don't know that perfect, but it definitely makes it much easier.
Yes.
to just go back to it. Even in just your brainstorming part, I think you arrive at those ideas fairly easily.
Yeah.
Because you practice it so much.
Yes. Very, very true. Yeah. And that's for sure what makes it easier for me at this point in my life and my career. I think if you're just getting started though, one of my biggest recommendations is to rough out your idea that's in your head and then go back and refine it. And I'm going to show you all exactly how I do that too. And sometimes I sketch it out first. Like if it's a really complicated idea, and I don't know what the images are going to be or what stock I'm going to use, I will kind of start to draw it just on my iPad and be like, okay, a person here, and I'll just draw like a line and a circle, maybe like in this one, a boat here, just a triangle, like the horizon line, and just kind of starting to get it mapped out will help your composition in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine it also might help you in defining a shot list if you go somewhere with a purpose and that like, I need to get a shot of the corals or that parrotfish.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm just trying to decide what waterline I want to use. And I'm in between. This is the one that I used in the example sketch. So, or wait, is it that one? Yeah. Yes, this one, or there's too many good ones. Look at the whale coming down in. There's this one. And then, or do I want to do a brighter water line? So let me know in the chat, and Sin, if you have any thoughts too.
I like the brighter one.
I know the brighter one could be fun.
It also has really cool shadows in there. We have Sean saying that when starting, always take a deep breath to start. It's like the workflow of the creative. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
I know. So true. Like, okay.
So much
just
planning.
Like going underwater, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a good metaphor.
Yes.
I feel like it's definitely one of those things where you're constantly practicing both of your brains. Is the creative side wants to completely like think of these imaginary places, and then you think about the practical ways to achieve that, and like how you shoot them, but also how you edit it on Photoshop or Lightroom.
So true.
Yeah.
So
I love that whole experience.
Yeah. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to just test some different stuff. And this is a good way to kind of learn what's going to work best for your photo, because sometimes we don't know right away. And that's even in me being like, well, which waterline do I want to use? It's all about testing everything out first. And you can always go back and change this, but let's see. Okay. So here's a bright one. And usually what I do when I'm planning it out, I will lower the opacity just enough to start to see what's behind it and kind of plan out like, okay, do I like it more like that? Or do I want a really big wave underwater line? And maybe kind of like that. So we get our eye moving down and across the image. And so you're just seeing a little bit of the boat. So we have that option there. That's the bright. And then we'll just turn that off. And then here's our dark line. And so underneath the water is still going to be super bright. We're just right now looking for what waterline and ocean part we want to use. And we'll see if the bright will work because we want it to blend into this image. So we'll have to see if the dark will work better or if we can just color grade the bright.
Clever Devlin says bright light is easier to see.
Yes.
I wonder, if it'll work as a composite.
Let me see. So I think I'm going to actually, I want to see how this looks flipped. Yeah, I like that better. Ooh, maybe we could even add those mountains in behind the boat too.
Yeah, make the scene even more shocking.
Yeah. Whew, so excited.
We're just making our own planets.
I know.
Why not?
Okay. So I know a lot of people said bright, so let's start with that and see how it goes. Okay. So we have our water line here and we're just going to check to make sure we like that positioning. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now what I will do is I'm going to just using the rectangular tool here, bring it down to about there to get rid of our sky. And so we're just gonna layer mask that out just like that. And then we're gonna see with a nice big brush and using black. And I usually like to start with a low flow on this. And I always layer mask using a brush instead of I do use the different, I'm like blanking on the tools. I use the marquee tools over here and then also the pen tool if I'm doing detailed any sort of layer masking. But for this, I really want to kind of give it like a nice blendy look. And anytime I'm doing that, then it's always a brush. So we're just
with soft edges.
Yep. Soft edges and just kind of revealing where the boat is. And I do this roughly in the beginning and then we'll go back and we'll really clean it up and refine it. So
that's the magic of layer masks.
Yes, exactly.
Always go back.
Yeah. And I really like to just kind of do things rough in the beginning to kind of get the look. And then when I go back, that allows me to continue to change things without getting too deep into the edit where I'm like, I don't really know what I'm working on here, or I can't fix this, or this doesn't look right. It helps kind of make everything more seamless. I'm going to bring that up a little bit. And so already this is looking pretty cool.
Yeah, it already looks like it's blending together.
I know. I love the way it starts to come together too. Okay, so now we'll go back over to Lightroom and grab our shot of Maddie here and just drag it over to Photoshop. And we only did a little light editing on there, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go ahead and open it because we didn't do too much editing. So, okay, so adjusting this just size wise, and then again, lowering the opacity to kind of get her into place. So on this one, I just had her kind of coming in off to the side. And
this is really cool too, because if you don't have the chance to go to Bora Bora and take these amazing photos, you can always grab some stock photos and practice.
Yes,
from Adobe stock. Yeah, I can already see, I can think of the different elements to pick from, the camera and the mountains in the back.
Yes, exactly. And I always use Adobe stock too. Especially sometimes when I don't have pictures of places, that's my go-to place. I will use it a lot for the animals that are in a lot of my work. I will use it for underwater shots prior to this trip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to supplement those shots, those little details.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes look for like really extravagant clouds or something like that. That makes it like that much more shocking.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. And again, on this one, just using the marquee, bringing it down to start our layer mask. Just kind of getting rid of that information that we know we don't need. And then I wanted to go back into Lightroom and grab this picture to use some of this coral and the fish here to blend it into the other image since we're missing that corner shot.
Yeah, Annika says, what are some of the things that you thought about before taking these shots or some of these shots? I know some of them are also taken by your friends.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess when I'm really planning something out, like if I had an idea in my head ahead of time, I would say it works two ways. So the first way is I will have an idea in my head and I will do that sketch that I talked about where I kind of have a rough idea of what I want it to look like. And then I will seek out those certain things, whether it's setting up a scene in my own yard of me doing something. Yeah. Usually I use myself in most of my images, or, you know, knowing exactly what I want, being like, I need a mountain at this angle that I can then Photoshop into the sky. And looking for those right lighting conditions too. If I know it's, I want a sunset shot or some morning sunrise glow or a nighttime shot, trying to get that all correct. Or in this case, it was the most perfect evening. The sunset was absolutely stunning. And I loved like the blue on the boat coming out right in here. And so I knew the second I saw that scene, I got the camera out, shot it, and I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing with this image. And it would just all came together.
That's so interesting. And it also seems like you have like a photo that anchors the rest of the images.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a really good point too. Yeah. I usually start with something, or it starts with something that I know is going to be like the main anchor point, whether it's kind of a subset of the image or the main part of the image. It always stems from one thing initially.
Really cool.
So now I'm just going to just again with a soft brush using black and a low flow, kind of just start to blend this out. And we may bring some of those fish back in and maybe get this a little more blended.
We have a curious question from Rob. Do you primarily work in RGB or do you ever convert to CMYK for print? So do you print your artwork?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, let's see, what am I in right now? I'm in RGB. I guess I would say I usually work in RGB. And then I used to print my work a lot more than I do now. I think I converted to CMYK. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of times. I mean, did you print in house or like at home? Any large format printers?
I send them out. Yeah, I use a site called Nations Photo Lab, and I love them. I love their quality too. It's really good. The only thing I don't like is most of their photos most of their prints have like a photo finish, and you can choose between matte or glossy, but I'd love to do kind of that like paper finish, you know, that a lot of people, like a print finish that people are using.
Yeah, especially with your color palettes. Like I can see a beautiful canvas paper making the colors stand out even more.
Yes, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, a lot of folks are really good at calibrating your RGB files. If you know, they're kind of accustomed to you working in RGB. A otherwise, I think, yeah, there's some strict folks who require that CMYK conversion.
Right. Right. Exactly. Okay. So what are we thinking? Do you all like this composition? This is kind of just the starting point. So there's the sketch, there's the new waterline using the bright underwater. Do we think that this will blend okay? Yeah.
Yeah, let us know in the chat. I think it looks really close together. I'm going to just kind of guess here because I'm dissecting your work. I guess you have a facet where you start to introduce some like shadows and lighting. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So once I get the composition roughly where I want, again, like we haven't done the full blending here or layer masking here. But then what we'll start to do is we're going to add in some lighting and darken certain areas up, and then we'll start to color adjust, and then we'll refine those layer masks.
Awesome. And Steve says it's looking very nice.
Cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are liking it. Definitely work alongside us. I'd love to be able to retry this. I have some photos, not of Bora Bora, but I do have some cool shots there.
Yeah, that would be awesome. You should definitely do it. And I'd love to see if anybody creates something based on this, please send it to me. I'd love to see it. Okay, so usually I'm kind of old school. I like to use curves for adjusting the lighting on things. It's totally up to you if you want to use exposure or brightness contrast, completely a personal preference. But we're just going to clip this to the waterline here. And you know what? I should be a good student here and name my layers.
Yeah. I love that you named it old school, like a classic move. If you're in the design world, you know this is classic.
Yes, I know. Someone said to me, they're like, yeah, no one really uses curves anymore. It's kind of outdated.
Oh, really?
Like, what?
Oh my God. That's a little rude.
Yeah. Luckily it was before I used it, but I had to defend myself and say, well, I do use curves all the time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I feel it's just really powerful.
I think I'm going to call us classic and vintage on that front.
Yes. Love it.
I feel like you have a little bit more control also with your shadows, your midtones, your highlights.
Yeah.
Oldie but goodie.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So we're going to move my zoom there. We're going to just start to adjust this waterline a little bit until we kind of get somewhat of a blending in here, and then we're going to mask it out. So let's see. We start to just I usually start by bringing the dark point down all the way and then bring that contrast back in and then kind of adjust from here and bring maybe some of those highlights back in a little. And for me, it's really always just as I do in Lightroom, it's all about playing around. It's like, if I want to go crazy with it, sometimes you get something completely different. If any of you know Magdiel Lopez, he's known for doing big, wild curves like this, and he gets iridescent colors that way. So curves can be used in so many unique ways.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's about almost pushing those extremes to see if there's a different viewpoint there to like experiment with.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's really cool because it can help you develop a new style or new look to your work. Maybe you discover something that you never knew you could do before, just in the way you're editing, and that like sparks a whole new stream of ideas. So
Rob says, we have a few printer experts here. So Rob says that some of he knows of photo labs that would primarily work with RGB, because it brings out the vibrant colors. So that's good to know. I think we all kind of ride that line of like fear of like, is it the right format? And but actually, I've been requested the same to send things out in RGB in the past. But there are folks who are very CMYK, especially for newsprints.
Yeah, that's really good to know. I'm not an expert when it comes to printing at all, so that's super helpful.
It's definitely precious when you get a print, though, when you have your own image printed out. It's like an experience. So I encourage anybody who hasn't done it yet to at least once.
100%. And I love printing on metal too. Like I've done a few metal prints from Nations Photo Lab, and oh my God, that's
a perfect fit.
Yeah, because it makes it glow. And when it catches the light, like all these blue colors that I use in my work just sparkle. It's really cool.
Wow. Want to see that.
Yeah. Okay, so sometimes you can use curves for color adjustment too. I don't always do that. I will sometimes experiment with it, see how it looks. I tend to use color balance more often for color adjustments, but sometimes the good thing with curves is you can really control those midtones, highlights, and darks. And in doing your color balancing that way, you can change the color of each section. I'm still learning it, to be honest. Color adjusting with curves can get very complicated, but you can see how we can brighten up these highlights with the red here. And then if we were to add cyan, opposite of red, into those shadows, you can really control it. So the nice thing here is being able to add a little red into those highlights helps bring the sunset into that water line. So it helps us to blend everything together.
Yeah, I think the keyword is blending everything.
Yes. Blending is like my favorite thing. So yeah, it's just kind of like a matter of playing around with it a little bit to see what looks good. And sometimes it's just like a tiny bit of adjustment. And sometimes it's deleting it completely afterwards. When you're done, you realize that it doesn't look good. So this is going to mess with the darker areas. You can see down in this corner. I just pointed to my screen as if you guys could see that. Okay. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. We'll go back in and adjust it. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to black here. And again, using low flow. I always am using low flow because that helps control everything, and just brushing out the area that we just kind of edited to bring that brightness back underneath, but keep the darkness up here.
Yeah, you're sort of guessing like where would the shadow hit and where is the light source coming from?
Yeah. And so we'll probably start to kind of direct it from over here a little bit. And again, it's like, for me, it's just kind of slowly building it all up. And most of the time these edits will take me 8 hours or so when I'm really in the zone and working on it, because I like to just slowly continue to build the light and kind of create that center focus. So I think we'll keep this a little dark over here because we want this to look like it's deep and back in the ocean, but we still want these sharks to stand out a little bit. So sometimes just with a low flow, like clicking and popping the light back in there a little.
Yeah, I think there's a point in every design process where everything becomes about being meticulous and adding those little tidbits of detail that make the difference and creating that surreal look. Much more real. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm just going to kind of get rid of some of this extra stuff. Okay. All right. So now let's just add a little bit of color balance to this water line. We may not need it, but sometimes like to just kind of see, make sure that is clipped, and then maybe kind of Sometimes I'll do multiple color balances too, because right now I would want this under here to be more blue and this up here to be a little more muted and a little pinker. So let's color grade for the top. And just kind of playing around there, seeing what will look good. Sometimes going back into our curves and continuing to adjust that way. Try not to spend too much time on the water line. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So then once I do the color adjustment, I'll go back into my layer mask and start to kind of blend this in. So let's just zoom in. And we can see this is blurring here. So we might want to add a little bit of blur, but we still want our boat to be in focus. But that's something to pay attention to as well. If you have any sort of depth of field in your images, and then you start compositing, you want to try to kind of match that unless there's something that you're really wanting to focus on in the background. So we'll do that last of working to blend everything with the focus point.
So you're also keeping in mind, not just the lighting, but also the focus area of the lens and trying to imitate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I do find that to be pretty hard. Sometimes that's my biggest pain point when I'm working on stuff. Oh, Jeff is here. Yay. I'm so glad. That's awesome.
Jeff says, woohoo, just got on the chat. Anna, this is looking so freaking cool.
Thank you for being here, Jeff. And thank you for providing these photos. I'm like really, really excited for this. Yeah. So everyone go give Maddie and Jeff a follow, Wandering Wilsons on Instagram. Their work is absolutely incredible. And Jeff is a really, really talented wildlife photographer.
I love that handle, Wandering Wilsons.
Yeah. So good. All right. So that's looking really nice. And you know what? It's okay to have this be a little out of focus here, because if the water line is hitting the camera and it's going to be right up here at like your eyes, then below and above could technically be in focus.
Right. Yeah, that does make sense. It's almost like, you have to kind of perceive where the lens would focus, practice a few times. That's where your photography sort of background starts to play a role in how you end up editing everything. Yes, exactly. And like studying that stuff in real life too. Even if you're not a photographer and you're just a digital artist or compositor, just looking at things in real life and looking, like you can do the depth of field test with your finger by closing one eye and seeing how the focus changes as you move your finger away. And then if you're looking at something, you can start to notice how the focus shifts as you move your eyes around, and the camera operates the same way. That's amazing. It reminds me a little bit of like when you do figure drawings and you use your hands as a model and you start to examine almost like the things at your reach. Being able to do that like focus test is very much at your reach. You can always use it.
Exactly.
Really handy.
Super, super handy. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. We'll leave that for now. Now we'll start working on Maddie here and start to kind of color grade this and blend her in. So we'll start with curves. And
I'm curious, what kind of equipment do you use to be able to do the selections and brush? Do you just use mouse or do you use any?
Yes. So I am just using a mouse. I need to start to learn how to use a tablet. We talk about this on every stream. I'm always like, but I do use my iPad. I sync it through AstroPad, and that works really well as a tablet too. And I like that because I'm so used to I'm so used to drawing on my iPad that I've gotten really used to the flow of it. So it just mirrors your computer screen so that you can see Photoshop on your iPad as its full Photoshop version or full desktop version.
Yeah, that's really handy.
Super handy.
The pen there is just very effortless.
Yes. Yeah, I love the Apple Pencil so much more than anything else I've tried. So I'm like, you gotta work with whatever you're most comfortable with, because that's going to give you the best results.
Yeah. And it'll kind of just ease up your workflow where you just don't even recognize you're doing it. You're just entering this flow.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to show everyone here. This is another good tip for editing underwater photos. If we have like this deep cyan in the midtones, you can, using curves, like pop this back up. You can see how Maddie's body comes back into natural color now, and you start to get that really nice contrast between her body and the water. And I think that looks really cool.
It has a little bit of that pink touch also.
Yeah, and kind of tying it all together. Exactly.
And then maybe we can have a treasure chest in there somewhere.
Oh my God, that's a good idea. I love that idea. We'll have to do that at the end if we have extra time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't often exercise like thinking of fictional spaces, but you have me in that train of thought now.
Cool. I love that. Yeah, and I think like the fun thing with this is, it's not going to look super real, and that's not the goal. We're kind of going for this dreamy, magical land. Like if we really shot this image, clearly the perspective is wrong. Like the boat, everything would need to be adjusted if it was real life, but the goal of this image is not real life. So, and that kind of gives you that creative freedom and ability to not make everything accurate to life. And then if you were to kind of change that, we could work on the perspective and play with that. And sometimes I do, depending on the goal of the image, if I want it to look hyper or surreal mixed with real, or if I'm like, this is a dreamland made up in my head, it's all kind of that end goal.
Do you ever get inspired by movies?
Yes.
Or films?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So much there.
I know. I'm trying to think of some. Well, for this trip, I mean, I couldn't help but think of Moana. Like that was. I was just so inspired by that, with the colors and like the glowing manta ray and everything in the movie. Like that was really cool. So we were talking about that the whole time.
Oh, really? And the boat.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so just kind of adjusting some things here.
Sure. I was going to say Disney movies are definitely a good source for creativity.
100%.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's going to be a direct plot, and then suddenly it turns into something else.
I know.
I'm usually really shocked. I'm like, what am I watching?
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Moana was one of those. It had so many subplots.
I know. It's so cool. Okay, so I'm focusing right now. Let me just zoom in on kind of brightening this coral. And, as most of us know, our reefs are dying, and it's really sad. And in many places that I've been, we have seen the difference in the colors underwater and how climate change is affecting all of that. And so for this, I kind of want to bring back some of those healthy areas of the coral, and it was nice to see a lot of it thriving. It's just an important reminder to protect our oceans.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the forest of the ocean.
Yeah,
and it helps us breathe.
Yes, I know. It's so many amazing things.
Very small, very important factor.
Yeah,
definitely seen some really beautiful corals in Central America.
Oh my God, I
very
bet.
Protected. It was the first time I think I really truly saw the colors everywhere. The way you see them on TV. It's like, yes.
That's so, so cool. That's like a dream of mine to see. Okay, so now we're just gonna invert this, Command or Control I, and then paint this back in using white. And because we don't want the whole area of the image to be adjusted by this color correction that I just did here, just this area down here of the coral.
Okay.
And we're gonna match it with the other one too. Just focusing on the Maddie image right now. And then we can go back and change it too. Did I even do anything? Not really. Okay, deleting that.
Annika says, I love a good treasure chest.
Yes, me too. I think that would look really cool.
Or a Pandora's box.
Love that idea. Okay, so now we're gonna adjust this a little bit. We are on the coral now, so just kind of bringing out some of those colors too.
Yeah.
And so you can also switch on color balance. You can switch between midtones, highlights, and shadows as well, which also gives you more control, like what I was talking about with the curves. But I do think if you can master color balancing in curves, that's going to give you even more advanced color grading. But it does take a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what's also great about that is that if you do master it, it translates over to Lightroom. Exactly. So now you just knocked 2 out of the park. Yeah. Well, and also for those of you who are just joining us, we are here with Anna McNaught working on compositing in Photoshop at the moment from pictures of her trip in Bora Bora. So that's really, really cool. Definitely join the chat and let us know what you're thinking so far. If you have any questions for Anna.
Yeah. Yeah, and let me know in the chat if you have any questions about anything Photoshop related to. Happy to help.
Is Photoshop your favorite?
Absolutely.
You seem really comfortable in it, so I was gonna guess yes.
Yeah. And I would say secondary. I love Lightroom. I think I like color grading more or doing all my editing more in Photoshop, unless it's just travel pictures and kind of doing a light edit on them. But I love the ability to have everything stored in Lightroom. Oh, doggy.
Yeah.
And then be able to look at everything and then plan out our Instagram feed that way. It's like a really helpful tool for all of that.
Yeah, those in the chat are very familiar with Toby, my dog, who likes to say hello on the streams.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Maybe we can do a composite with him somewhere in space.
Oh my God, I love that idea.
He's a golden doodle, so it would be really cute.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay. So this is looking really cool. I do, however, feel like it's popping too much compared to the rest of the image. We end up kind of our eye goes down here. So we're going to need to just tone that back a little, whether it's in kind of bringing these colors just back down and then also adjusting our lighting, which we'll do in a little bit. And so, as I said earlier, just kind of going back and forth between these things as I'm working to try to get the perfect look. And sometimes I'll make a change that I love when I'm zoomed in and then have to adjust it to match the rest of the image as I zoom out.
I also noticed it kind of looks like she is on a spotlight. And that's kind of cool to have that virtue of controlling where the light source is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's so many fun things you can do.
Rob is asking about my golden doodle. Yes, I did say golden doodle. Next time I'll provide you those photos, Anna, and you can make something really cool.
Oh my God, that would be so funny.
I definitely have one too many. Can you work with phone images?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should definitely do something, put them in outer space.
Yeah. With a little astronaut bubble hat.
Oh, I love that idea.
The helmet. Oh, man.
Okay, let me see. What am I? Okay, so this is kind of when I start to bring things together that can be images that can be blended and overlap that don't have like a clean cutout point where you actually have to use the pen tool to get around the edge. This is kind of where it becomes an artistic choice of how you blend it together. And it can be kind of either choosing to go right around this edge here, or just kind of starting to bring in certain elements. And the nice thing with underwater and this coral here, and a lot of times when I blend together different images of forests and whatnot, they will blend very easily because nature, isn't a clean line in most cases. And again, that's where using the flow will help you kind of just create a seamless blend here. And let me know in the chat if you think I should do this differently, if there's something that you'd like to see.
Let's check out the chats. I know for sure we wanted to do that treasure chest.
Okay. So I don't want... And then, yeah, just with blending, trying not to get things that wouldn't make sense. Like this fish, we don't want on top of the coral because then it almost looks see-through. So I usually would take a lot of time with this. I'm just going to kind of get it to a semi-good looking point and then move on to the next thing. But the blending and like picking stock images is always what takes me the longest. And then turning it on and off to make sure we don't have anything like this. We have an odd little corner up there. I can't.
Do you ever sign your work?
I actually don't, if it just like compositing, but if it's illustrations, I do, but I should start to sign it.
I'm curious if there would be like an Easter egg left. I don't know. I think you have so much like power and just being able to manipulate the photos. I would like, I don't know, I started to go wild in my mind thinking you would leave like a little fish somewhere and that's like your signature.
I love that idea. I should definitely start to think about that. That's a really, really good idea.
Yeah, a little Easter egg.
Yes. So cool. Okay. So
Steve is saying, what are you gonna give her? Oh wait, Becca said, are you gonna give her a mermaid tail?
That's a good idea. That's actually something that I want to do on another image of her, because there's so many good ones, but that would be fun. We could play with that.
Yeah, I think the way her legs are formed already, like closer to the lens, it would be a pretty cool one to retrofit it.
I know, that would be so awesome. Okay,
and
so
then
yeah, we could do that at the end with the treasure chest and mermaid tail if things are.
And then Steve has gone like in a whole nother direction and said maybe an NYC gangster from the 40s.
Oh my God.
And some cement galoshes at the bottom.
I don't know, Steve. I think that's taking it in a different direction.
Let's put Medusa under there.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oliver's like, maybe not quite that dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chat's always really funny. They go from being really, really chill to just going wild on these creative ideas.
I know. It always cracks me up. I'm like, where do you all come up with these ideas? Okay. Yeah. So what do you think? I feel like this is looking pretty good in terms of like, it's not perfect yet. I definitely would spend some more time with it, but yeah, it's looking good enough. We can start to kind of bring some other elements in.
Yeah, you're definitely condensing the 8 hours that it usually takes you
I
into
know.
these. So I understand some meticulous work, usually quietly and
Yes.
really introverted in your brain.
Exactly. It's always so
Yeah.
hard to kind of try to talk through what you're doing and also make sure you're doing it correctly and matching
Yeah.
everything. Like I have some weird perspectives happening here, which I will need to fix later on, but um
Right. Yeah. But so far, I feel like we've used, can you let us know a little bit about the different tools that we use in Photoshop that are your go-tos?
yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, just
I know we
checking on that
started
one.
a little bit with that marquee tool and the layer mask.
Yeah, so using the marquee tool to cut out big areas that you want to layer mask. For me, always using the brush tool. That's like my go-to number one favorite tool for everything, whether it's adding color, light, painting, layer masking, you name it. Like I find that to be really easy to use and also gives you kind of a lot of times people ask me, how do you get that colorful painterly look in your work? It's by using the brush tool and just slowly building and building.
Mm.
And then adjustment layers, clearly you can see here that color balance and curves are my favorite. I know a lot of people will also use like levels for doing their lighting or even like color lookup at the end, which we can play around with. And then what was the other one I was gonna, like a gradient map. I do that for my glow, which we could get into. Probably won't have time for that, but yeah, I would say the adjustment layers and then the brush are like my favorite tools.
Oh, nice. Yes. We have Jeff saying, loving the tones.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad he approves.
I think that's like one of the standout elements of your work. I mean, in my opinion, just seeing like the different tonalities and just how dreamy they look.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of what I aim to go for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
So
Jeff asks, what's your go-to way of blending textures between the photos? Ooh,
that's a
cool.
really great question. So
Mhm.
I will usually do that at the end. And let me just pop this off real quick. So I'll zoom in and kind of look around at different things and see, like, luckily these all match up pretty well. We have some fixing to do in here in terms of just the image in general. But like, let's say like this one's a little noisy. We have a little noise in here too. But let's say one was really smooth and one had a bit more noise. Then I would just go in and let's go to the water line and we'll try to match that noise. So we would go to filter. Where is my noise? Add noise.
Yeah.
And then just I usually do, let's see, kind of see here. Sometimes it depends if you want monochromatic. We're gonna go with the color here and just bring this down. And we're just trying to match that background water.
Yeah, that's another layer of detailedness that kind of just for the scrutiny of that eye that likes to be able to kind of see the difference and try to find out like how is this image made, hence me.
Yes.
And yeah, being able to sort of make everything blend together, even down to the texture, I think it's really, really meticulous, very impressive.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really important. And so that's kind of like my last few steps is blending, getting the textures to blend. So yeah, I'll either add noise like that, or I will do like a blur, or sometimes like either Gaussian blur to kind of blend things, or in camera raw, taking the details down, getting rid of the noise. But then usually at the end, and I'll show this on today's stream, like right before we're finished, I will do a camera raw. I will merge everything and then do, if you've seen me work before, I always do a camera raw at the end, and I will add a touch of noise and a touch of denoise, and that helps blend everything together. And then also I will add, and I'm not quite there yet, but we'll do this towards the end too, I will add a layer, and then with my brush tool selected, let's make sure, I will come in and color pick a little bit, and I will just lightly with a low flow kind of paint some of that color in. And this is a really good way. Doesn't quite go with your question of blending textures, but it will help blend all the pieces together. And then you put the texture on top of that, and then that will help merge everything as well, but not quite there yet.
Really cool.
Okay, so I just put a curves on everything. I'm going to invert that. And then I just want to kind of like darken down here. And sometimes I will do all of the final darkening and lighting in Camera Raw at the end, but I just want to kind of like touch in a tiny bit right now. And again,
I think you're very classic in the Camera Raw also.
Yeah. I love using Camera Raw at the end. So many people will just do all their editing with adjustments or with the tools right here within the main Photoshop interface. But I think Camera Raw gives that final push that people are like, will ask me again that question: how do you get that main pop and brightness and like the colors? It's from that slow build and then pushing it to the extreme in Camera Raw at the end.
Really cool.
Thanks.
Alex is just joining us saying, hello, everyone. Little heart emoji.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Welcome.
Yeah, that's so interesting too, because sometimes just being able to kind of bring everything together and almost creating that top layer, it makes it look like seamless. I often do that if I have to create some kind of correction, or I'm requested to remove an item. I'll do like a final little just light color correction to make all the edits I made blend together.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I relate to that process too. Yeah.
Cool. So I need to fix that area. It was like looking too bright, but that's going to take a little bit of time. So I think when I'm going to work on this afterwards too, to finish it all up and hopefully get it posted so everyone can see the final. But I think like darkening this and blending, bringing the ocean floor forward so that everything is in perspective underneath too, I think that will help. And maybe shifting things around a little bit.
Do you often share on a favorite like social media platform?
Yes. So I always share on Instagram, even though Instagram's dying, it's fine.
Yeah, for photography. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been my go-to platform, and it's where I think most of my audience hangs out. I should start posting on Behance too, but
yes. Definitely like-minded folks here.
Yeah. All right. So, I should have these as smart objects, but they're not.
How does that help, the smart objects?
So then making sure if I add noise or add a blur to it, all of that's going to be editable. I don't tend to use smart objects if I know I'm not going to be doing a lot of that, but we can just, we will convert this to a smart object, because what I want to do here is help kind of blend the boat and the water line with a tiny bit of blur. So I usually use Gaussian blur. I've gotten into also using iris blur and field blur at the end when I'm trying to control that depth of field. But again, not till those are like my little final touches.
But I see what you mean. So then you're able to always access that original image within that smart object and then continue to apply. So it's, again, one of those steps that help that you've been doing so far to be non-destructive in your process.
Exactly. Like, for example, when I was showing how to add the noise, this was not a smart object. So I just added the noise and I wasn't really quite ready for it. And if it was a smart object, I'd be able to delete it and then continue working on it. But now that noise is baked in and I would have to go back and get the water line again, but we're going to work with it as it is. But that's a really important thing to remember if you're going to be, you're going to be doing a lot of changes within things that within adjustments to the actual image itself and not adjustment layers. Making sure it's a smart object will keep it non-destructive.
Awesome.
So let's see. So then we're going to go to our smart filter here. We just added a touch of blur. We are going to invert it. So you can see here, if we go, you can see I just added like a tiny bit to kind of start to blend it out. Sometimes it will work. I will have this grand idea and sometimes it looks bad. So I feel like that's kind of the story of my life. It's like trying all the things to see what looks best.
And then that's why that non-destructive workflow ends up working out, because then you can be like, okay, this is too far.
Yes.
But it's not completely, like you said, baked in. It's a great analogy. I often use like food analogies to explain.
Yeah.
We're too far into the process. I cannot remove the salt out of this like soup at this point.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's so spot on.
Yeah.
It is baked into the sauce. So I just kind of brushed that like a tiny bit, and then maybe we could add a little bit of noise to blend it back in with the water. And these are just, those really little details that sometimes people don't notice. But now going back to Jeff's question of matching these textures, now you can see we get the two waters to match. And just kind of deciding like, how much do I need here?
Hi, Svetlana. Thanks for joining us from Samara, Russia.
Okay.
And then Clever Devlin had said we can also include bubbles.
Yes, bubbles would definitely be good too. We have so many things to add. Okay. Let's see. What do I want to add now? So I'm trying to think. Like, it's so funny how when you're live streaming and you're like, wait, where is my workflow? Where am I in my process?
Yeah, totally. It's like a whole different workflow to
I know.
Speak through your work. Although some folks do speak to themselves as they work.
That's very true.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I'd be like, did you say something to me? They're like, no, I'm talking to myself.
I know. That's how my husband is. He talks through his work all the time. I'm like,
you do that.
I can't hear you. What are you saying? He's like, nothing, just talking to myself. Okay. Just kind of trying to fix a few things that I'm noticing. Like I feel like around Maddie is too bright and too cyan, but I'm just being picky. Let's see.
Becca Smith says, I talk to myself when I drive too.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do that too. Okay, I think that's fine.
And Bharat from India, it's their first time on Behance.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah. You're in for whirlwind. Remember, you can also replay all of these live streams, so to your heart's content.
Yes, don't forget, you can watch this at any time, anywhere.
You can
watch
listen
it in
to
Bora
them.
Bora.
Yeah. Required.
Yes,
just kidding.
Exactly. Okay. Oh,
wow, that's amazing. Garrett says, I also talk to myself when driving and sign language too. So I don't know who really is driving if you're using your hands.
Wow.
But I've definitely seen that, like with a fellow driver, like a driver near me. using sign language.
Oh my
to
God,
talk.
that's amazing.
It's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, so I'm just doing an overall curves adjustment on the ocean right now. We'll see how this turns out and if it's quite what I want to do. Okay, so for this, as you may have seen, we are watching from Bora Bora.
Bora Bora.
Yes. I'm so jealous that you are still there.
There you go. You're completing the homework.
I know. Oh my
Wow.
God. We were so sad last night when we got home. I was like, I can't believe trip is over.
Yeah. I mean, you just got back, basically.
Yeah. So I added a curves to the whole underwater section here. And what I usually like to do is see what it looks like on the entire thing and then go back in and either invert it and bring the areas back. So you can see when we zoom out, like just by adding this curves, I know it's making it a lot darker and some people are really not into the dark look, but we're going to make it dark and then pop the light back in because that helps to kind of give that finished look versus just like that. It looks right. It looks cool, but it looks like two different images. We need to seamlessly get them to blend together.
Okay. So in the effort to blend them now and then still kind of create that brighter look in your in raw, I imagine.
Yep. Right, exactly. Okay. So you can see, like, look at the water line here. You can see how in adding that curves, it just helps kind of, again, continue to blend it.
Yeah, it looks more unified in that one.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I need my brush tool. And we're going to just kind of bring out those areas that we really want to focus on and start directing the light that we know is going to be coming from this direction. And so it's just kind of like you're painting. And I love that.
Yeah. I love layer masks. They're just multifaceted for a lot of things.
Yeah, it's the best. So you can see before and after, just kind of getting more of that focus. And maybe we build the treasure chest. I don't know if we're gonna have time for that, but build the treasure chest into this area down here. So we get her line of sight. You know, you can see here, she's looking at this direction. So something interesting here could be really cool.
Yeah, I can already sort of see it. And yeah, good thinking on the line of sight. It does look like she's looking at something particular.
Yeah. So you can see just in adding these two curve adjustment layers, so this was before, and then it's this one and this one to start to kind of suck the eye into that center area and creating that area that our eye flows through the image. So you're going to come... let's zoom out here. Ideally, when this piece is done, we'll have you come in here, look at whatever she's looking. Your eyes will come up to the boat and finish on the sunset, or the other way around. You'll come in from the top and come down right through here. I don't always do that in my pieces, but sometimes when you start to create that kind of how your eye moves through the image, it will help build your composition as well and make it more interesting. Okay, so we're almost running low on time, huh?
Yeah, we're almost there.
Okay. So now what I want to do is just add a little fun light, gonna pop some color in, and then we'll go into camera raw, finish it up and see if we have some extra time to add some fun things, but maybe not. So I am just gonna pick like an orangey color, soft orange. Maybe we'll do a pink, but we're going to make this color dodge. And this is how I paint most of my glow, how I add light. And the key here is making sure that you click transparency shapes layers. If you watch any of my other streams, you will see that this is something I talk about all the time. Just unchecking that. I still to this day don't know why, but it helps create better lighting and glow. And then we're just going to paint this in. And
Oh,
this
wow.
is, you want to have a very low flow on this because it's going to happen really quickly. You can see we can really build that light fast. But just kind of coming in and painting the sunset and creating like, so then this is where the light is coming from.
Mm. Right. That spotlight that's on her.
Yeah. And even though the sun is technically below the horizon here and wouldn't be lighting her that much, it just gives that illusion of where it's coming from and not just like totally random. And maybe someone's lighting her over here, or maybe we have the moon starting to shine. Who knows? You can build this whole scenario.
Yeah, we have about like 25 minutes left.
Okay. Cool. And I showed this recently on a pro tips stream. If anybody wants to go back and watch the replay of that, I showed how to do this color dodge technique on just like a basic cloudy day travel photo. And it was like really, the sunset was really muted and didn't have much to it. So I did a quick sky replacement and then just used this camera or color dodge to paint in some of the light, and it just like made it pop and look so magical.
I think I came across that on your website.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's starting to look like cotton candy.
I know. It's so cool. It's really pink. Might need to tone it down a little.
Yeah, that would be a cool challenge. Like just imitate a certain candy color, or
this
one's
that
mango.
Idea.
This one's cotton candy. This one's lemon lime.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea. Okay. So that's looking pretty cool.
Nice. Ryan Benute says, I love Anna's art. Awesome. You have a fan.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Okay. So, again, something I would need to spend more time working on to get this to look really nice, but you can see this is before and this is after. So it's just starting to build up that light and that glow effect.
Yeah, it definitely pulls your eye towards the subject.
Yeah.
And has now the catamaran as like a secondary subject.
Yeah.
Like really mysterious in the background. It's like, okay, that's where she came from.
I know. It's kind of cool. And I love that the blue lights are turned on it too. So you could, I could kind of play with that even too. Like if I move the water line up a little, you might actually start to see some of the blue down below. So if you were to do this on your own, whether it's an image like this or something different, you can continue to add more color dodge layers to get that dual lighting and dual color effect. So I can just come in with another layer on color dodge. Don't forget, double click, turn off transparency shapes layers, and then I could paint in like, so I would have to move things around, but I could start to, as if there's like light back here too.
Yeah, the color modes can make a lot of things just blend quite quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, very nice. I mean, color dodge, I think Multiply is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Next to like, of course, overlay makes everything easier.
I know. I love that too. Like overlay is
and
really...
screen.
Yep. Yeah. Like I could kind of paint in the water here, start to kind of really pop those colors.
I can imagine in real life, you probably have some moments when you see a light source coming through. You're like,
yes.
Okay, check. I'm going to keep that in my mental archives for the next artwork.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know 100%. That's like exactly how I am. And sometimes I'll see light in, especially like a misty forest or something, if someone turns their headlights on, and I'll just be like, oh my God. I'm so excited because it's
like... so funny. I would totally be like relishing in that moment with you because it's just like
Yeah.
one of those. I love being able to see the perspective of other creatives on a day
Yes.
to day.
Yes. I know. I know. It's so fun. So I think like once I put this on my iPad, maybe kind of like painting in a little bit more of the light coming from the boat here to start to bounce it off the wave. So there's a lot of work to be done, but we're at a pretty good place. Like this is a little too yellow in here, too blue. So we have some touch-ups to do, but it's coming together. So you can just see the difference there. All right. Then I think I might add stars later on too. I don't know. There's lots of stuff we could do to this.
Yeah.
I don't know in the remaining time, like, do we want to, I definitely want to have time for camera raw. I don't know if we want to do that and then play with the extra stuff, or if we want to try to add some fun elements now. And then what do you think?
I mean, we still have about 20 minutes ish. So we can definitely play around with adding an element if you need to. I'm not sure how long you would take in camera raw, but including that treasure chest is still in my heart.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to go.
And then Becca says that, yes, I get inspired by tail lights reflecting on a rainy road for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, involve rain in anything and reflections, even the sounds of them. As of late, I've been really attuned to the more film-oriented things, like things that move or things that sound. But yeah, it's so cool. Rain plays a really magical role in our lives.
Yes, I know, Becca, I completely agree. I absolutely love the look of reflecting lights in the rain, reflecting car lights. It's so cool. It starts to get my mind flowing too for ideas and how lighting works. I think that's a fun thing to study.
Yeah.
All right. Let me know if I'm just on the free section here, which is a really great tool that Adobe Stock has added in to be able to get free sources.
Yeah, a little secret.
Yeah, there's probably a lot more in all, but we'll just use a free one. So anyone can decide which one, or anyone can use it if they want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, so you can continue experimenting.
Yeah. Let me know if anybody sees anything that stands out and send you as well.
Oh, Kieran just joined us. Hey, he says, hi, Annika. Whoa, just came in. This looks amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the stream. And then Becca says the first two free look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder the backdrop, which one works best for you? Is white better in this case or black? I mean, either. I think more like the light source coming from the right on that first one is kind of cool.
On this one?
I think it was the first one. Yeah. Oh, it has two of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know this is always where it could take the longest time. Ooh, I love that idea too. Sometimes I look through stock images and I'll see graphics like this one, and I'll start to be like, oh, that's a really good idea. Like this could be so fun, having a treasure chest with an octopus coming out, and that's how I'll get a lot of ideas too, just like looking at it, and then I'll write it down or sketch it out and save it for later.
Yeah, there's a lot of freedom in drawing from your mind's eye. So it makes sense that's another point of reference.
Totally. All right, let's see. Is that one free? No. Okay, so I'm in between either this one or this one. First or second image.
Would you have to flip that one to face her? Yeah. I think that second one, right?
Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
What does the chat think? Definitely. Thanks, Annika, for including that link. Definitely check out the free Adobe Stock. I bring in a lot of things from there.
It is the best.
And for a while, I had no idea that it existed.
I know, me either. I was like, wait, when did this happen?
It's like game changer.
It really is. Okay, so again, lowering that opacity if we want to kind of see where this is going to fit in place, just to kind of get that initial look, and then we'll flip it. Oh, baby.
Nice. It already looks really good.
I know.
It's not there yet.
It's so cool. Let's see if we can, no, it's too light. Okay. Let me zoom in. So do we like this one? Yeah, got second one. Okay. So we're going to try to see what happens with select subject. Oh, nice. Beautiful. Love Adobe Sensei. Let me tell you what.
Nice.
Okay. Gonna make sure we got all of our areas selected in here. Looks pretty good. We'll do a little cleanup. The nice thing with this too, with it being in the corals, we can also work on blending it in the same way we did with the other sections, because we kind of have that freedom down here to maybe work it in a little bit. Okay. Gotta make sure I'm on the right layer mask. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so this is probably going to take me way too long to get it in place and get it all color graded, but we can, because I definitely want to have time for camera raw, but I'll show a little bit. So maybe shifting the perspective here.
Yeah, definitely. I think everything else has undergone such delicate treatments on the light, the focus. There's been a lot of really cool things that you've done, so we understand.
I know, I'm like, oh no. But so just to show you roughly what I would do, I would come in, and because we have more edges here, I would actually use the coral to find the edge and bring in, or to paint in with the layer mask, whether it's with the brush or with the pen tool, kind of get in those edges really well. I was going to keep some of that overflow, but I think this will look more realistic if it's kind of sinking into the coral bed. And then maybe, yeah, like, and then sometimes I would bring it back in, like maybe I would come in and bring this big diamond back in and make that light up too a little bit. And then carefully putting this fish over top.
Yeah, it makes sense. It would be sort of like dug in there because of time.
Exactly. And then that would be really important for the color grading too, of how we make that match.
Yeah. I love our chat because they're always a little bit comical.
Yeah.
Rob says, just got to toss the heart of the ocean from the Titanic movie in there.
Oh my God. I love that. That is so true. Spot on. I think we should put like it dangling over the edge here. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
It could be.
Can you imagine you actually find that?
Oh my God. Do you imagine?
Swim. Of course you would find it in Bora Bora.
I know.
Complete sense.
I heard that someone said Kim Kardashian dropped a $75,000 earring into the ocean at the Four Seasons.
Right.
And so people go diving there to find it all the time. So
no way. That's so interesting.
I know, it cracks me
up.
I
imagine people lose things all the time.
Yeah.
At least you'll find like a GoPro or something.
Oh my God, I know. You could probably find some good stuff. So, just kind of quickly seeing how we can get this to match in the best way. Again, using that color balance and curves, because I love it and it works really well. And then we would want to add, this is a good example of matching textures. So We're going to want to blur it a tiny bit because it's underwater. So it's going to have a little bit of Gaussian blur here. We want to do it on there.
I definitely think I take that step, but I haven't been very conscious of saying I'm matching the textures, which completely makes sense to include it in your almost like your pipeline of lists.
Yeah.
Some things you do subconsciously.
Exactly. I know. I always end up doing it and not even really thinking about it. And so, yeah, it's always a good reminder when you're teaching. It's like, oh, yeah, this is something I do.
That's so true. It's one of my favorite things about the process of teaching or speaking your workflow. You learn, oh, that's what I do. Right.
Exactly. And then even like sometimes that's too much, but sometimes what I'll do is I'll just layer mask edges a little almost out, especially for underwater stuff where it's not quite, you're not quite seeing through it, but you start to kind of blend in that edge. And this edge needs a lot of work. We need to brush it out and refine it because we're getting like that weird clipping on the sides. But like with my lighthouse piece, which some of you may have seen, I put the lighthouse underwater, and what I did there was just brushed layer mask over it like a tiny bit with a low flow, not enough so you could see through it, but enough so it blends into the water.
Okay.
Like almost like lowering the opacity on something, but doing it in a more refined way. So like on this treasure chest, lowering the opacity a tiny bit helps it blend, but then we also get it to be see-through, which we don't want. So carefully kind of touching those areas. And then this is a good time to use that technique of where you're sampling the color around and then brushing over top to kind of blend it in and give it like the look of it actually being underwater. That's the biggest key here, is getting everything to, like with this treasure chest especially, making it look like it's not just pasted on the image. It's going to be a little more faded back here. It's going to have some more blue tones. So either painting that in or adding it in with an adjustment layer.
Yeah, what's interesting is that image, I mean, came with its own light sources, its own textures, its own. So you're almost like trying to tune it all the way through.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
your scene.
Yes. So then we could add a color dodge on top of this, and just want to make sure we have enough time here. And we could, switch it. We could, I have to do my transparency shapes layer. See, if you forget, it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
There we go. So now we could start to like create glow. This is going to look really bad because we're doing it fast, but we could start to create glow from within the treasure chest itself and start to bring it up. And even, like this is where the tablet would come in hand. Like you can start to kind of paint off this light from it. Yeah, like that looks terrible.
Wow,
but
that's cool.
You get the idea. It's kind of
you're like, it looks terrible. I'm like, cool.
I think you can see.
You got to start somewhere.
I know, exactly. And like in a couple minutes, it's really hard to do. But what we would want to go for is slowly building that light coming from within the treasure chest and build it out. And then that would actually look really, really sweet.
Yeah. Rob says, it looks good. This isn't making me want to go to Bora Bora any less. And and Sin, that lava lamp is mesmerizing. Thank you.
It really is.
I do nothing but plug it in.
It's so cool. I haven't seen a lava lamp in so long. I kind of want to get one now.
Yeah, I definitely talk about classic things. Why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do want to add a touch of light in here. Just trying to get this look semi-okay before we merge it all together.
Yeah, I think this was like a little bit of a speed challenge
I know.
on that. And you've involved the fish in there at some point. Pretty neat. I mean, yeah, it's not, I know it takes time in reality.
Yeah, it's come together pretty good. Like it's the overall, I would say the whole piece is at a really good medium point, and then just some final touches. I think it will come together so cool. And just always remember, whenever you're doing any sort of lighting from scratch, don't forget things that it's going to bounce off of. Like this fish will be lit up. These fish will be a little lit up from the glow. If we really amp up this treasure chest, anything that's around it is going to get lit too. So even like you might paint in some light here, down in here. It might not be that dramatic, but sometimes when you do that in your images, it helps create that realism in the surrealism.
Right. You keep in account like what else gets affected.
Yeah. So definitely needs some work, but coming together on that. And let's see, we are quickly running out of time.
Yeah, I think we're good to jump onto camera raw.
Okay. So I just did a merge of all of that. I did Shift Option Command E, and then I'm going to convert this to a smart object. And even though we're done, I'm converting it to a smart object so that we can edit the camera raw later on. So that, again, non-destructive. Unfortunately, if you were at this point, you did your merge, you did your camera raw, and then you realized you needed to move something around, you wouldn't be able to. So I always try to make sure I'm always good with everything edited and in place and finalized before I do the camera raw.
Okay. And you did use that merging, but it wasn't necessarily like merging every layer.
Exactly. If you do Shift Option Command E, it will make a copied layer merged of everything and not merge the whole thing, which you don't want to do. You don't want to merge it all. You've spent a lot of time, a lot of hard work. You don't want to lose those layers. So you can go back and edit it later on. Okay, so quickly going through camera raw here. This is where I'll do all of my final color grading. So I will come into basic first, and then kind of, as you know now, I like the pinky blue tone. So I will adjust that for that a little bit.
You definitely have like 10 minutes left, by the way.
Okay, cool. Kind of just playing around here, seeing what I like. Again, this is the same exact process that I did in Lightroom to start everything out, but we're going to just push it a little bit more once we get into the masking. So first, starting with the colors, checking in on everything, making sure it's kind of how we want it to look. Maybe a little bit of color grading in here. Maybe not. I think we'll save that. So I want to go up to here. We're going to go over to the masking, and we're going to start with just a radial gradient. So I always do that to start, and we want it to be switched. So in Lightroom, you would just click the invert button, and we kind of want to build. So rather than doing like a full vignette on the image, you're vignetting the area that you want the light to be focused on. So I'm going to put this in the same direction that my light is coming from, and then kind of do that effect.
Oh, cool. Right. So not your usual portrait vignette, but more like focusing on that light source.
Yep, exactly. So I will always kind of darken it like that. And then sometimes I will do like I will lower the saturation. In this one, I'm not going to too much, but just kind of giving these corners a bit of a desaturated look to help bring your eye in. Okay, so now we're going to go to the brush, and then this is kind of my final look of painting in a little bit of light. I'll kind of touch on those areas again, just showing the red to show where I'm painting, and then start to adjust it. So you can see where I painted there and just bringing that light, amplifying it up a little bit, getting some color back up here. And this is also a very long process too. Like I will usually spend, I would say about 30 minutes to an hour or more in camera raw, just delicately painting in these areas and getting it to have the look that I want, because this is really, like I said before, where I do the final color grading of everything.
I think it's blending in like really good, even with the treasure chest.
Yeah,
but I might not have that refined eye for this specific style.
No, it definitely is coming together really nicely. And then actually just brushing in a little down here, because we don't want to lose any of this. We just want to kind of refine it. And then see, what else do I want to do? Sometimes really bringing in some extra color with this. And then sometimes I will even do like another radial gradient and continue to just do this little exposure trick, because I think sometimes it helps to kind of, I don't know, just create like a cooler look. Then go back to the basic settings, finish up that color, sometimes brighten it up a little bit. Be highlights.
That's really nice. You can also see the radial gradient fades off, so that makes that edit really soft and not as discernible.
Totally. And then doing a little noise reduction, blending all the textures together.
Okay.
And then just a little bit of grain over top of the whole thing. And let's see, detail, we want to bring that down a tiny bit. And that's kind of like the last thing I'll do to just bring the textures together and get the overall blended look to it. And then at the end, I'll kind of play around with the calibration here, and just to kind of get that final look. Like I think we all know kind of that teal and orange pop, you can really get that through this calibration as well. So just a tiny bit, deciding kind of how the colors are going to be finalized.
It's interesting because that calibration is meant to be a technical tool, but I've used it in the same fashion to just to like play with the colors.
I know, because it's really cool how it will so drastically change an image, and you can create like a really refined look from it.
Yeah, I love this color palette.
Yeah, it's coming together so nicely. And then I'll just kind of check on those masks, see if I want to enhance it a little more once I do that final coloring. And back a little. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we'll click OK, and you'll get to see how magical this is. So here's the before and here's the after. Before.
Oh, cool.
After.
Yeah, it definitely looks much more put together.
Yeah, it's really cool how, and this one wasn't even like one of my most dramatic camera raws, but it's cool how it really helps bring everything together. And you can see just in doing this, like we got kind of more of this blue tone in here, brightened up the boat a little. Got like the water more blended together. So we have kind of this greener,
I was going to say
more
the
cyan.
boat came back into the scene almost.
Yes.
Like it was hidden away.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything just starts to blend really nicely. Cause even, okay, so look at this fish here too. Like, in the before, it's like this. And then when you do after, we start to get a little bit more of this like blue glow coming up onto it.
Yeah,
And
the visibility.
yeah. So it
I can
just
see how
helps.
this is looking more like that color palette that I see consistently on your gram
Yes,
too.
exactly. That's always kind of the way that I finish things off to get that overall pink and blue palette that I have on my Instagram and spot on. And but yeah, and then like sometimes I will add at the end here, I will just do another color dodge to amp up light even more if it feels like a little dull in certain areas.
Yeah.
But this looks really good. Like I might.
Jeff says, making Maddie's mermaid dreams come true, Anna.
Yay.
Applause.
Yes.
And then Sarah has a final question for you. Many people say that lighter photos are trending now, lighter shades than darker ones. Do you agree with this? What do you think?
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, trending, maybe so. It depends on like what the images are. I always love darker photos with pops of light, and that's just always going to be who I am and what my style is. So I think it's really a personal preference. I think you can go with the trends, or you can choose to stay true to whatever makes you happy within your artwork.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And finally, do you have any places that where you will share your work that we can maybe check out and follow?
Yes. So definitely check out my Instagram. I will be sharing my work on there. And please check out Maddie and Jeff so you can see all of their incredible work as well on Wandering Wilsons on Instagram. And you'll be seeing a lot more from the Bora Bora trip coming up. So stay tuned for all of that.
For sure. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give them a follow because that artwork was amazing.
Yeah, their work is so good.
Yeah. And everyone, thank you for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. For all of you guys involved in the chat, you're always so funny and I love it. Stick around for the Etsy Small Business Bootcamp with Katrina Torrijos and Jordan Ellis. And also learn about Adobe Express to design a promo card for your inserts on your orders. And also following that, there's going to be a bootcamp to join the brand designer Adam Greasley on Adobe Live as he creates a brand design for a botanical themed gin company. So till next time, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.